Okay. Show me.
Hi there guys, welcome back to the Dutch CC channel. Thank you very much for tuning in for my long-term review of this, the Diatone 2019 GT-R349. Yeah, it's a 3-inch quadcopter, as you probably know, and it's brushless. It is an FPV racer. Okay, so my long-term review of this quadcopter. And what does that mean? That means that I've done over 100 flights with this quadcopter by now. I've had it since the end of 2018, so last year. So I've had a good amount of time flying this quadcopter, and it's still in one piece, as you can see. I have also used this quadcopter for Lipo tests. Torture tests of these lipos here, the Turgy Graphene Panther lipos, and I've tested these lipos with them, Tattoo 650 milliamp hours, and I've also tried these lipos. R-lines also from Gensace. More on Lipo choices for this quadcopter or other 3-inch quadcopters in a second. Okay, so this GT-R 3-inch quadcopter from Diatone is available in two flavors, if you will, with a Runcam TX200U video transmitter or a TBS Unify video transmitter. And I have the first option. And that VTX, that video transmitter, only goes up to 200 milliwatts. For me that's enough. Actually, let me switch to a DVR recording. So this flight you see here was recorded in my goggle, right? So you can see the actual reception in my goggle. Also you can see the quality of the video camera, the FPV camera. This Diatone quadcopter comes with a Runcam Micro Swift. And, well, you tell me. I think the reception is great, and also that video camera, that FPV camera this quadcopter comes with performs well. I'm well happy with that setup. However, I have also done a modification to this quadcopter. As you can see, I've replaced the FPV antenna with a Foxeer Lollipop. Originally this quadcopter came with a sleeve dipole antenna. So a non-linearly polarized antenna, and this definitely is better. This works out quite a lot better. It depends a little on what kind of venues, what type of places you fly at, but in general this definitely is worth the extra investment. And how have I actually mounted this? Well, as you know, if you have this quadcopter, it has two metal uprights at the rear over here. On both of those I have a tie wrap, plastic tie wrap, and in between that is the antenna with a piece of shrink tube around it. I hope that's clear enough. But basically those two tie wraps keep the antenna in place, and this works brilliantly, if I do say so myself. The propellers never touch that antenna. Cool, very nice. Okay, now in very short, do I recommend this quadcopter? Yes, it is a very fast quadcopter, and it's also pretty low price. Actually, I'm amazed. I think Diatone could charge more for this quadcopter. It has proven to be reliable. I have obviously had crashes in 100 plus flights with it, and it's held up fine. I've ran it into trees, and I've crashed it mostly on grass and on sandy surfaces, never on tarmac or stones. But again, I have run this canopy into trees at speed, and it's completely fine. Obviously I've snapped a few propellers, but other than that, that's the only damage I've been able to sustain on this quadcopter. Okay, now I must admit that I'm having a hard time finding things to complain about on this quadcopter, but I do have one. This electronic stack in the quadcopter is mounted on 4 metal screws. They run through the entire stack. You see the ends of the metal screws over here. And that's actually a good thing. I built my quadcopters that way myself. So with a metal screw through the entire stack. I never use plastic standoffs. Those always snap off. So again, this is well engineered. However, if you take off these bolts, these over here, these metal screws will just fall out of the stack. So it makes it a bit unwieldy to work on this stack, if you know what I mean. Well, a better way would have been to have bolts like this also at the bottom of the stack, simply to keep those screws in place. If you, I hope you know what I mean. But again, the first time I took these bolts off, the screws fell out of my quadcopter. Over here, this is the base of those screws over here, of course. So yeah, those screws fell out of the entire stack, and then you have a mess on your hands. You've got anti-vibration washers in the stack and plastic washers, and yeah, those all fall out of the stack, and yeah, it's messy. So again, it's far handier to have plastic bolts like you have at the top of the stack, also at the bottom, keeping the screws in place if you work on your stack. Okay, one other thing, and I also mentioned that in my first look at this quadcopter, there is no protective pouch available for this quadcopter. Now, I'm not saying that Diatone should ship this quadcopter without charge with a protective pouch. As mentioned before, the price of this quadcopter is very low, somehow lower than it should be actually, but I think Diatone should at least make it available. People like buying extra options for products they like, right? So I very much like this quadcopter, so I'd like to buy Diatone branded protective pouches for this quadcopter. Yeah, so I think that would be a nice thing for Diatone to add to their inventory, if you will. Let's see, yeah, the entire powertrain and the build of the frame I'm completely fine with. It doesn't have separate arms, it's a unibody, so to speak, and that makes the frame lighter than it would have been if it would have had separate arms, so I'm happy with that design choice. The FPV camera, this is again a micro Swift, even though it's green. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe Diatone has these green versions especially made for them by Runcam. And yeah, it's a nice camera. I like these cameras. I'd use them myself in builds. So. And yeah, I think this would be a worthwhile upgrade for Diatone to make on this quadcopter. So a circular polarized FPV antenna simply works out better, and yeah, the quadcopter would be a little more expensive, but I'm pretty sure people will want to pay, say, 10 euros more for that quadcopter if it came with this antenna. You'll have more faith in your FPV feed with an antenna like this. Far better than the sleeve dipole antenna. It wasn't horrible, that sleeve dipole antenna, but this is simply quite a lot better. Okay, basically that's it for my review on this quadcopter. I've done a couple of videos on this quadcopter, and I'll have a link to my playlist with Diatone reviews up here. Have a look at that if you want to see more on this Diatone quadcopter or other Diatone quadcopters. A bit of advice to end the video with. What kind of Lipo do you want for a high performance 3-inch quadcopter like this? I've tried a few. A Tattoo 650, a Turnigy Graphene 650 and an R-Line 850. Now, these R-Lines, very powerful Lipos. I very much like them, however that 850 mAh is simply too big for a 3-inch quadcopter. You can definitely fly the quadcopter on this Lipo. it'll perform great actually. And in the case of this 3-inch, the ESCs can handle the weight. I'm not sure if that goes for every 3-inch quadcopter, but this one can handle it. However, you'll slide out of corners, you'll feel the extra weight and it'll impact your performance. A 650 is a far better size of battery for a 3-inch quadcopter, and at this point, well, these work out fine and the price is good. These Turnigy Graphene Panthers. You'll have to see if you have a warehouse nearby. In the Netherlands we have a warehouse, so for me these work out well. Yeah, depends a little on if you live close to a warehouse from Hobby King. And they definitely perform better than these regular tattoos, so to speak. Good news, by the way. There will be, I've complained quite a lot with Gensays about there not being a 650 R-line. And guess what? They couldn't stand my complaining anymore, so they're gonna make a 650 R-line 4S as well. Yeah, so I guess you have me to thank for that. In a short while there will be 650 mAh 4S 95C R-lines, and I think those will be the Lipos to get for a quadcopter like this. Yeah. Okay. And that's basically it. I'm not sure what more to say. If you are left with questions, hit me up a comment down below, of course. And catch you on the next video. Bye bye.